What's
All right, let's see if we can make this thing stream. See if it healed itself this week. All right, who we got here? We got Beerend from across the world in Netherlands, middle of the night. How's it going, buddy?
Going great. I have 20 GMBs up my sleeve right now, and I'm ready to start doing the optimization part.
Awesome. Awesome. Are you at the point where you are dreaming about GMBs?
Yes.
I feel like you are eating and sleeping, and I'll just leave it at that, GMBs right now, and it's just all over your consciousness. And I'm wondering, I've had times like that where I've dreamt about, oh man, I lost that GMB here. This client's going to be mad. Just wondering if
I
you
actually
got.
dreamt about it last night.
What's that?
I actually dreamt about it last night.
Yeah, that's the obsession, which it's good. It's good for a while, can get you some good results. There's no way to live long term.
I know. It's definitely a driving factor for success right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Who else has some wins?
Got some wins here.
Patrick, what's up, brother?
What is going on?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Just raised. He was my second client. So my first client was a $250 a month client who's still with me. We're at $400. But this is my second client who's still with me, and we started at $500. And I gave him I gave him 2 months of free leads. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing back then. And now we're at $4,800 a month. And
wow.
I'm just fucking taking over Alabama and Atlanta market. But I just locked that in for the year. So I'm just going to way over deliver on that. And then by this time next year, I'm hoping to be at $10,000 a month with this guy.
Man. What are you doing that's allowing you to raise the rent on him like this?
Well, this one, I've had issues raising the rent on some other people, but this guy's we connected right away. I always am pretty lenient with him. He had issues with the business, right when we started. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna help you out. I just want you to succeed. And he just always appreciated that. And then I just kept, building from there. But he's a pretty ambitious guy, problem solver himself. And he just wants to keep growing. So, and I would always just go into the markets. He said, hey, you can take that. So I just started and then get into leads first and then raise the rent from there.
So when you kind of skipped over something that I think is important, right? So when you said hey, you want to take that, what that really means is that you are either building a site and getting a GMB there and stuff like that, or you're adding on to your additional site or your existing site to try to hit that area. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, so I have 8 GMBs now, 4 different sites. And then I'm going to create at least 6 or 8 more websites and 10 more GMBs.
Okay. Yeah, you're kind of taking the same strategy that we do, right? When you get that good client, rather than going this isn't going to be the same for all clients though, right? But when you get that one that is hey, this is the type of client I want to have, rather than you have 2 options. You can go and try to find more people like him, but you can also try to grow that client and help them become a lot bigger than what they are. And sometimes that's easier. And that's what we've done a lot. And I don't know if you use this, Patrick, but it's one of the more, I think, underrated tools inside of LeadSnap is the client onboarding area. So we use that religiously with every client that we sign in. And there's a few questions that really matter, such as list the services in priority order that you offer and list the locations that you want to target in priority order. So that way you can always go back and kind of review this, and you've got your hit list of, oh, okay, I didn't realize that this guy offers this other service that's like, that's actually a really good, that's an expensive niche. Or he also wants to hit this area where we have no presence. So let's go build another site or like get some additional GMBs that can target that area. Are you doing that, or are you just kind of like you're having the conversation?
I haven't. He really just called me up and said because we were just getting so many leads, and I'm way over delivering. Like I should have been charging more, but it worked out where he's like, hey, we want to go into these other markets, and so that's what we're doing. And he just called me up like after we went in the markets, like 2 months later. He's like, hey, I want to go in these other markets now too. So then we just sat down, went over some numbers, and just locked him in for the year at that. But no, I haven't really done the onboarding thing, which I should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously what you're doing is working, but I think it's worked really well for us to just have our whole team be able to go through there and see the onboarding sheet that's associated with the client, and like just look for those opportunities. I know Jeff has, like, we've told this story a bunch of times. We had a client that started out at 1,500 and we got him up to $13,000 a month. And we were just like adding on additional markets and stuff like that. So yeah, man, that's awesome. It's really nice. You can kind of hear where this is going, where it's gone from whatever, 250, 500 to 4,800. And then you're like, I'm going to get them to $10,000. And for most of us, that's, what is that? Like maybe 2 times or 3 times the amount of the national income average, but you're doing it with one client on a monthly basis, essentially, right? That's $120,000 a year. I think the average is somewhere around like 40 or 50K a year. So, and I mean, that's pretty amazing. And then it's also true that, hey, how can you copy this? Because there's nothing, it's not like this is some unicorn that only exists in this like one city and one niche, right? That person exists all over the place. And once you've had a taste for it, then it's like, okay, now I know what the bar is and I know what I'm worth. And you can kind of start to get, so Patrick, you start to get rid of that, like that desperation smell, right? So you've gone to 4,800 and you know that you're way undercharging. Has this impacted your, like if you were to go into another city, you think you'd find yourself in the same situation that you were before where you're charging 250 or 500, or now you're more like,
no, definitely not. It's not. Yeah, it's not worth the time at all. But I don't know. I think you just kind of got to go through that. You got to get, have some clients, get some confidence. But yeah, it doesn't matter if I lose a client now. So I don't need a client. Like, you got more than enough money, but I want to grow. So, and then that comes off in the conversation as well.
Right. Do you think there was, like looking back on things, do you think there was a, like some kind of transition that you made that perhaps somebody that is where old Patrick was, if you could go back and say, hey, this is what it was. Is there some, like something you would tell yourself from before that maybe could be, because I think this is a really important thing that a lot of people struggle with. Do you understand what I'm asking? I know I'm not doing it. I'm very tired.
I don't really think there is. I think it's just showing up every single day.
Okay.
And just getting a little bit better every single day and learning and, not stopping. I mean, that's it. I don't think it was just like one little thing. It's just like, you keep trying, you tweak things, and then, eventually something hits. But then, you hit other roadblocks. Like right now, I'm in the hiring phase because I'm just doing way too much stuff myself.
Right.
And, that part's a little bit overwhelming for me. I put a job on onlinejobs.ph and got 150 applications. So, going through all those is, it's a different process for me.
Yeah. So what position are you hiring for, Patrick?
It's really like content writers. Like, that's the biggest thing. I hate writing content. Just
okay.
Can't fucking stand it. Yeah. I know it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, the content I think is it's almost like in my opinion, one of the easier ones to fulfill, because you can read it. If you're trying to like hire a WordPress developer, then it's like, if you don't know WordPress, then like I mean, you can look at their output and stuff, but it can be hard to like evaluate some of the tech positions if you don't have that skill set. But we know you like, I imagine you know how to read. So
I mean, my goal is like get content writer that can, you know, upload pictures and stuff, dude. I mean, that's pretty simple.
okay.
And then also a full-time backlinker. And then, you know, citations is, you don't need to bring someone on the team to do that. Just outsource that.
Right.
Really, that's like, that basically takes everything off the plate.
For sure. I want to share something real quick with you guys. I haven't tried this out yet, but I found the site and I think it's really good. So for like people that are in Patrick's situation here, maybe not so much for content writer, but for other positions. This site here, Testdome. Ignore all this like Facebook stuff after here. Okay, so testdome.com. They will help you evaluate candidates for different positions. Okay, so if you go in here and you look at these tests, you can see like some of this stuff maybe is beyond what you guys need, right? But if you go down here to, let's go to, I know it's in here. I know a lot of you guys. So these are different languages. You guys right here. This is what I want, WordPress. So they have tests that you can administer. So Patrick said he had 150 applicants. If you apply for a like a WordPress position, you might run into similar things. And how do you sort between those? Like, how do you know? You can look and say, hey, who's going to offer the cheap price? Or maybe I can look at their turnaround, but maybe they're doing all sorts of things wrong, right? So this does come with a cost, but I think it's worth the cost to try to hire the right person, right? And because it's going to be a cost if you hire the wrong person. So I think it's like $100 and they'll do 5 candidates. So you could kind of go through and put them through the ringer a little bit, but you can get a higher level of expertise to evaluate your decisions on positions, especially as you move into these like more techie positions. So Patrick, I think it's important, like this is probably maybe the limit of what you guys will need this site for, but if you're trying to hire a solid WordPress developer and, you know, you can put them through this test and this will separate the pack, right? Like you want to find the people that are going to show up. And I've talked a lot about hiring, but they've got like sample questions in here. So, but I would go through the hiring videos that we have. If you guys are in Patrick's spot and you're looking to hire, like, doesn't matter what position, but go through some of those, find out the answers to those questions. For me, Patrick, I personally wouldn't hire somebody for a content writer off of onlinejobs.ph because I want to try to find like a native speaker for that position. And, you know, you could use like LinkedIn or Indeed or something like this. And you could even post it on like Craigslist, right? So you could post on Craigslist and say, hey, we're looking for someone to write content for us. And a lot of times you can get, we found someone, I think she has her master's degree and, you know, we pay her, I think like maybe 4 or 5 cents a word, but she does a great job and she can produce content really quickly. And, you know, it's always top notch, which like the quality of your content matters, right? That's going to impact a lot of things. And it would suck to have to go back and rewrite some of that stuff. So just a couple tidbits there. Testdome, if you guys are looking to like find some like high level professionals don't get carried away with this. Like, you know, if you're trying to build some software project and you don't have like a software background, it can be, I mean, things can go off the rails, and just like putting someone through a test is not going to be enough, right? But for hiring for like a WordPress position, then I just wanted to make sure that caveat's there because it can get very, very expensive if you don't know what you're doing in that arena. But this can help you sort through some of the stuff that maybe you're not familiar with or you're not super techie to get through. Okay, cool, man. Patrick, I love to hear you crushing it, man. Congrats on getting to 4,800. So that is $56,000 a year, I think somewhere around there, right? I don't know if my math's right, maybe more. So congrats on that, man. That's a huge upgrade. And you know, it seems like you've come a long way in the last like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, definitely. 6 months have been a big change, no doubt about it.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Who else has some wins?
I've got to win.
There is my buddy, Devon. Congrats on the 9-year anniversary.
Thank you, friend.
Is that the win or you got something else?
Like a real work win.
A work
You
win.
know,
Okay.
for whatever you want to call what we do. Right. But no, so I know I haven't been on the call in a couple of weeks. Actually, I was going through COVID a couple of weeks ago, but obviously okay now. So, but during that time, one of the old prospects that I had gotten in touch with, he reached back out to me. And while he was, how do I explain this? He had a heart attack scare. So he was in the hospital. And during that time, he actually texted back out to me. He had just been working himself so much. He was so busy that he hadn't gotten back to me. And I thought he wasn't interested. He texted me back with his credit card, though, to sign up for being a client, though. He's like, oh, I've just been so busy. I didn't get back to you. I have time now, while literally in a hospital bed with his credit card info to sign up. So needless
Do not
to say,
kill
he's
this man.
committed. No, no, he outsources a bit. He's got 10 guys, 2 trucks doing tree service out in Colorado. And yeah, he's now a $2K a month client, and he signed a
Awesome.
9-month contract. So
Congrats, man. Isn't that a great text to get when they're like, hey, I want to give you my credit card?
yeah, he just sent me pictures over. He was like, I didn't have it on me, so I text my wife to take a picture of the card to then send to me, to then send to you. So he's very committed, to say the least.
That's cool.
So.
Is this a pre-sale, or did you already have leads coming in for him?
Leads were already coming in for him, thankfully. Unfortunately, after he signed up, the leads have been sparse now the last 2 weeks. I feel terrible about it, but you know, it's
Isn't that weird how that happens? I am familiar with that symptom, and I don't know. Sometimes it can sit there for like months, and then it's just like producing, and then you land the client, and it's like nosedive, But that's all right. You've already got the stuff established, and just make sure that you got to dive into it and find out why this is happening. We've got some cool stuff with the heat map that's coming out. I'm not going to go too much into it, but it's going to help you guys identify some of these issues. Yeah, congrats, man. 2K a month. That's awesome, Devon. I know that is, that's great, a great recovery after coming out of COVID to start to put some extra cash in there and kind of get back in the game again, right?
Yeah, thank you. It's a lot better than doing SEO for junk removal.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. All right. What other amigos have, we got more wins?
I can share a quick one. Just off of that conversation you're talking about as far as finding WordPress developers and getting stuff switched over that way. Yeah, thanks to Preeti, who's also in the group. I did find a good person. Didn't use the thing that you recommended, Patrick, but he's been good so far. I have 10 out of 20 transferred over so far. And yeah, figured I should have done this a long time ago. I've been spending like $400 a month on some other services. So that was a solid win for now. Yeah.
You're paying for some sort of expensive unnamed hosting platform?
Yes. Yeah, without going into too much detail. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely nice, man. And I'll tell you, for if you're spending like $12 or $14 a month, like for us, I think that would be about $6,000 a month in hosting, but instead we're paying, I think, $160 a month. So it makes a big difference when you scale. And I think that the content and the website development are two of the first things that I would recommend that you guys outsource, because there are so many people that are like, when there are experts who will work for $4 or $5 an hour on something, and you also know this skill set, then you should never spend your time on that, like building websites, right? Like that's just not something you need to learn how to do. And there's always going to be people that can help you with that. I think a lot of people have this like doomsday mindset where we want to try to learn everything. And that's going to be really limiting. They're like, oh, what happens if this stuff crashes and this person's not available, and like all this other weird things that have to collide at the same time. And like, you don't need to learn everything. right? You don't need to learn how to do every piece of it, right? Henry Ford built the first car, but he didn't know like every detail of every little thing after his business had been running. And the reason that Ford was able to scale is because he started focusing on systems rather than like, okay, what size bolt is going to go in this? Like he didn't know that stuff. He didn't need to, right? And you guys need to take that and extrapolate that and realize we don't need to know every single little piece of everything that goes on, right? We need to have somebody else that's an expert in it. And if we can hire someone with 10 years of experience for $4 or $5 an hour, it's just, it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend your time learning that, in my opinion. So cool, man. Congrats on the move. And, you know, a penny saved is a penny earned. So that's awesome.
I have a
You're ready?
question.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend as the minimal income before you start hiring a VA?
I mean, it's really going to be a personal choice on some level, right? Like for me, I'm super aggressive and I want to go as fast as possible at all times. So I don't like, I can live lean. Beerend, I think maybe you're in the city, I think you're living with your folks and you don't have like kids or whatever. So like, you know, if you believe in this and you want to push it, then you can be more aggressive with it. But that might not be the same for, you know, like a single mother who's got 3 kids and she's got a job. And then it's like, you need to balance that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's like a minimum number, but I would like, for me, it would be what can I afford and like still not, you know, jeopardize my lifestyle. And I would like, you know, if you can get some things in place and get that money back pretty quickly, then like it costs you money not to do it. Right.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I agree. I'm very aggressive right now as well. So
yeah, I mean, that's how I was, you know, my first course that I took, where I really like committed to like joining a mastermind and there was, I think like 25 hours of video and I had purchased it on a Friday and I had it finished by Monday. I was through every single one of them. Like, and then I know that other people in the group have been in there for a year and they haven't finished it. And it's like,
I had the same thing.
Yeah,
I couldn't even sleep.
You are gonna, like wherever you are in life, it's a direct reflection of the action you take. And we form these habits and when we have this like little guy that sits on our shoulder and justifies why it's okay that we don't do what we know we should do. And no one, like the accountability groups, for those of you guys that are in it, hopefully you guys are calling each other out on that stuff, but ultimately you can trick the people in your accountability group. You have to be honest with yourself. And like, if you want things to change, if you want things to be different, then like do what is necessary. And it doesn't mean that you have to live this way forever, right? Like I don't watch 25 hours of video every weekend, but I did it because I needed to go, like, I wanted to go fast and get somewhere, right? There's this, I heard this story and maybe this will apply and resonate with some of you guys, but I remember I heard this story about like I'm going to mess it up. It's like the antelope and the cheetah, right? And the cheetah is faster and more agile than the antelope, but he can only run his top speed for like 60 seconds. They put like his temperature is like rising so quickly for every second that goes by and his brain will like explode. So the antelope or whatever it is that he's chasing, he knows that he only has to last 60 seconds and then it's over. Like he just has to live for 60 seconds and then it's over. So he's doing everything he has to do for that 60 seconds. And a lot of you guys, I think, Beerend, maybe you're in that situation where it's like, you don't have to commit to living this way for 6 months, but do everything you can for that time to like get yourself over the hump. So like push through this, right? And if you just kind of go through this like lackadaisically, then you're not going to get the results. If you can look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and be like, holy shit, I did it today. I like pushed it. I am in a better place because of what I did today. And if you go and you look and you're like, you know what, I watched TV and I like did these things. And it's good to have days like that. But if you're trying to grow a business and you've got to like, you're working and you're like trying to find the time, then like sometimes you got to be the antelope and you got to run like crazy for 60 seconds and get yourself out of that position. And I'll tell you, I worked as a software engineer for years while I was trying to run this business. And I was like doing it on the side, kind of like somewhat casually, was really into the software engineering stuff. And then finally, I thought that like, hey, you know what? I need to match the income from my job before I can quit. That was the false assumption. But as most of you guys can assume, a single guy who's a software engineer with roommates that are paying for most of my rent, I had way more money than I needed, right? I had way more money than I needed to quit my job, but I was like, oh, I need to get to like 8-10K a month before I can quit. And then finally, you know, I got tired of my boss, and like I played poker, and I told my boss, I'm like, hey, this is what has to change. I need to be 100% remote, which is what we agreed on at the beginning, and I need a raise, or I don't think this is going to work out long term. And they fired me the next day, and I was only at like 4 or 5K a month, and I was waiting and waiting, and then I had all my good hours to work on this business, and then like. And the next couple months I went to 8K, and then 12 months later I was at 40K a month. So like, kind of like getting pushed into that situation, having your good hours can make all the difference in the world. And if you can be that kind of like antelope to get to the spot where you're able to like get out of your job and don't do anything risky where it's like, you know, mouths are going to go unfed potentially. But if you can just realize this and kind of push through this, it can make all the difference in the world. And then you can start working on like the $1,000 an hour activity, which I think we talked about last week, right? Like, how do you spend more of your time doing that? And if you're building backlinks and citations, and you're building a WordPress website, in my mind, building a WordPress website is not more than a $7 an hour activity. There's like experts that will do it for $7. So if you're spending 8 hours a day doing a $7 an hour, that's a $56 a day. If you're spending 8 hours a day prospecting, that could be $1,000 an activity. That's an $8,000 day, right? $8,000 day that you spent. So you need to pay attention to the stuff. And sometimes you got to do some of that grunt work at the beginning, but it's got to be learning, and it's got to be pushing through to get to this next phase. You don't have a lot of bills, Beerend, so like you can gamble a little bit here where somebody else,
I know.
yeah, they can't do that so much. Right?
First deal,
Oh.
first VA.
Yeah, do it, man. Are you going to have a new VA next week? 7 days from now?
Not next week.
Next week? All right. No.
I still need to rank those GMBs.
Okay. All right, man. All right. Who else? We got wins. I know we're kind of stretching out these wins a little bit here, but I think there's some important lessons and takeaways from things I've seen in the group. Does anybody else have any big wins before we jump on to what we're going to do today? No. Okay.
There was a question, Patrick. Ariel's asking what to do about reviews, GMB reviews.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier today.
Yeah. So that's a fortuitous question. I was actually going to talk about that a little bit today. So
I was hoping you'd say
I
that.
had a call yesterday with a good friend that I met through this group. And he's been solely focused on reviews for like the last 7 months. And he's gone out and tried, you know, different strategies and stuff like this. And it occurred to me through this conversation, and he kind of like stimulated this to some degree, where he said like, hey, you know, when you send out like, if a person doesn't get a review request in the first like 4 or 5 days, and they've had a bad experience, they kind of like simmer down a little bit, and then they're not like so upset, and they kind of move into this lukewarm spot where they're whatever, it's in the past, they're done being mad. And at that point, if they get a review request, they're probably just not going to do anything, right? So Ariel, the way we have LeadSnap set up is it's gathering all your lead data as it comes in, and we've got automations to get you those reviews, right? And one of the struggling points that has always existed is, well, how do I know who to send the review request to and who not to? So I've got a couple ideas that I've been kind of like kicking around today. Is what if you just sent them to everyone that is a lead that comes through? What's going to happen? Maybe some of these people didn't close, right? Those jobs didn't close. So let's say like 3 months have gone by, and I send out, or a month has gone by, and you know, I had a plumber out here a couple of weeks ago that did all this work. I spent about $1,200 on this house. I have no idea. I don't remember the name of their company. If I got a review request now, I wouldn't be in a position where I could be like, that's not the company, it's this other one. And if that did happen, and I did receive one that wasn't my company, the company that I hired, I wouldn't be angry. I would just be like, that's weird. What's that? Right? I ended up not hiring a plumber. Okay, they must have got their lines crossed. I guess worst case scenario, maybe they call us or something and they're like, hey, I didn't hire you guys. Oh, my apologies. Sorry about that. But if we started just like sending out the review request, I think we would get a ton of reviews just from the leads that come in, right? Maybe, and I'm not saying that this is my intention, but let's say that someone calls my plumbing lead gen and they don't get the job, and then they hire somebody else, and then 2 weeks go by and I send them a review request and the other company stepped in and did a great job, but they didn't even follow up for a review. Well, what if they accidentally leave my company a review? Like, I'm not going to go and tell them to remove it and say, hey, we actually didn't do that work, right? So you see what I'm getting at? We've got a constant source of people that are coming in here. And I think if worst case scenario, you send it to some people that don't close, but you can like automate it like crazy, I think you can get a ton of reviews just by like paying attention to some factors. So here's what you can do. Let's jump into LeadSnap real quick, and I'll just kind of walk you through how this works. So, all right. You guys can see my screen, right? Yep. All right. Thank you, guys. Okay. So we have the automations and we have the review funnel here. So let's go in and let's just, every company that we have and every lead is associated with the company as it comes into our system, right? So if it comes from a website, it's associated with a company. Every company has a funnel associated with it, and you can customize and design this however you want. In this review sites area, you have the ability to add in whatever sites you want to try to get reviews. Whatever Google My Business is, you can add in the links, right? You can do that right here. You could rotate these links. Like maybe you've got like 5 Google My Businesses and you're like, hey, I really need to get some more reviews over here. So I could add in the link to that one. And then later on, I could like swap it out for another one that I need, right? I think we're going to build in some sort of like round robin thing. We don't have that yet, but just been kind of like toying with that idea. So the idea really is to get them to the funnel, right? So they come in here, they go to this funnel, they click, and then they're presented with the review sites. One of the things that I was working on today is like building in a lot of analytics that can tell us like click-through rates and like how many reviews have been gained. And then I'm thinking like, well, maybe I can start to have like conversion rates by campaign, and then I can be like split testing those to determine which ones are producing the most leads. So I think that's part of what's coming for our reputation management. I'm thinking about, you know, really bulking this thing up and putting some awesome stuff in here. But anyways, they click on this and they go out and they can leave that review. Okay. So the goal is really to get them to that funnel. So for every company that you guys have in LeadSnap, you get a company over here. So comes with it, right? So now back to the automations. So we've got a lot of different things that we can do. So if I go new automation and we have the template here for a review request. Okay, so I'll just click on that and it's going to like build a bunch of stuff in here for me automatically, that's awesome. Okay, so you can see we have this end if review submitted, but Google doesn't actually tell us that a review is submitted. So just a heads up, the way that works, if I click here, then that's like a flag in the system that like, okay, this person, we're counting this as submitted. So they're not going to run through a sequence, more of the sequence if that gets turned on. So we're saying like, they click on this, we're assuming that they left a review, which they could click there and not leave a review. That's possible. But that will pull them out of the sequence. So if I've got a text message in here, you can see I've got a text message that's going out and it's going to substitute in the person's name, or like it's going to substitute in my client's name and the company name. I can also add in, if I want to, I can add in like a logo right down here and include that. Okay. So it's going to send this message, which apparently has some typos. And then because I've got this like link option turned on and include a link, it's going to include a link to the review funnel. And because this contact or lead is associated with a company and the review funnel is associated with the company, it knows which funnel to send them. So it's going to send them automatically to the right one. So next it's going to wait like 3 days, and then it's going to follow up with another email, and I can build out the sequence as long as I want. So talking to this like guy who's really been focusing on reputation management, he thinks it's good, like a good number of emails to send out is about 3. So I've got only 2 steps in here, so we could continue to follow them out. They could be on vacation, they could just miss the email. Okay, so some important things that you should do is you should authenticate your email address, right? Because you don't want to send this email from LeadSnap. You want to send it from like Tom at Tom's Tree Care, so that the person recognizes who they've been dealing with. That's going to really improve your conversion rate, right? And you can do that if you go in here to settings and then click on email. You can come in here and authenticate your email. Still, I can add an email account. I can select the provider, and then I have the ability to send emails through like whatever branded email I want. So if you have like Tom's Tree Care, that's going to be an other, and then I'm going to put in like the email settings for that, right? So that's how we can do that. If you're using G Suite, then you should follow the instructions in here on like how to allow Google to, Google has some special stuff you got to do. So that will allow you to send this email message from, you can see I've added in support@leadsnap.com. So I could essentially send from support@leadsnap.com or whatever email address I want. So that's important, right? Okay, so that's the standard use for this. So there's a lot of, so kind of circling full circle back to what we were talking about. What if I set something up and I said like, if it's a new form submission and it's for this company, so this company is equal to, we'll say Carol's Roofing, right? If the form comes through, so you could do a couple additional things here, but if you wanted to just like automate it and not even, maybe we won't be 100% sure if these people have booked a job, right? Well, I could just go here and maybe I know that like Tree Care, the average time that it's going to take to close a job is about a week, right? So I could come in here and I could say, hey, I'm going to send this, I'm going to start this automatically in 7 days for this person, right? So if this comes through, we know that the form submissions are going through our spam filters. I could also add in another filter if I wanted to be a little bit more sure. Maybe I can get some cooperation from my clients and I could have a job status, and I could say, also, if the job status is equal to sold, then automatically do this. I could even set this up as a condition, right? I could go in here and say, if there's a field status update, so I get my client, now my client is locked in and they're really involved. And if the client updates the job status, maybe I would want to change this to be like completed, right? So this is a custom field that we can make in our system, and then your clients can edit it. So I could say, hey, if the job status is set to sold, then wait 7 days and like put them into the sequence. You can do the same thing for a phone call. I don't remember who it was, but there was somebody who told me, and I have a towing client, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say when a new phone call comes in. So for towing, we know that it's a really fast sales cycle, right? So this one I would choose, I don't know if I have a test towing. No. Pretend that Charlie's HVAC is a towing company. And then I'll say that the call duration is maybe greater than or equal to 60 seconds. Okay. And instead of waiting 7 days, I'm going to wait 2 hours. So now I know if the call is greater than 60 seconds, it's for this towing company. And maybe I want to put something else in here too. I'll say like, if it's a first time caller, right? I want to make sure that I don't send this out to the same person twice if they call and then they call back, right? So I'll just going to send it out once, right? So someone told me that they did this and they've been getting a lot of reviews for towing, and they're not even like paying attention to like the client's not saying like, hey, I closed this one, I didn't close this one. So I think this is super powerful. And I think reviews have become an increasingly important factor for ranking your Google My Businesses. And we don't have to be so precise with like whether this person actually became our client or not. I think most people who didn't, they'll just ignore it. Most people who did will ignore it, right? I think you can get maybe a 20% rate, but what does this look like? So in my towing company, I think we get 1,200 phone calls a month. right? So they're probably closing like a third of those. So they're probably closing 400, right? So they're closing 400. And if I send these out to those 400 people and I get 20%, that's 80 reviews a month. I think right now we probably have 15 reviews after, or 20 reviews after several years, right? So what does it look like for 80 reviews a month? And what is that going to do for my ability to rent this for more when I get that many reviews? And I'm starting to like my Google My Business, that antenna that has the signal around the city of how strong my Google My Business is, that gets taller every time I get a review. My signal's better. I start to rank for more keywords. You could even kind of like prime these people with these requests, right? So when I write this request, I could say, really, really appreciate the trust you put in our business. We're doing our best to spread the word on our company. We would love to hear about your experience, about how your experience was. So maybe I put in here, if you wouldn't mind taking a minute to share what service we provided and how it went. Right. So if I'm asking them for the service, now they're going to have to put a keyword into their review. Right. So I'm like, you can kind of prime them and say like, hey, did you get this or this? Would you mind sharing a little bit about it? Right. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to play out, but I just like understanding psychology. I think that's going to have a positive impact on getting the keywords in there. Right. With what we've added recently, I don't know if you guys have noticed this. We did some cool updates. Oops, let's go in here to GMB locations. I covered this, I think, a couple weeks ago, but we've actually added to it more since. And we're going to continue to kind of build on this. But you can see we have this column here now for unreplied reviews. So you want to reply to all the reviews, and now you've got like real-time data on whether you've replied to those. You've got all these different columns in here too. Also notice we've got the review link in here. So if you want to do it differently, or if you want to pop out to the map, you can just click on that and it will go out to that GMB for each one. And then there's other columns in there. If you pay attention to this, you can see, hey, let me find out which ones are missing my description or the media count. So how many photos do I have, right? So you can use this kind of as an interactive spreadsheet. And I would absolutely be doing that. Like you have the last review date in here. If this were something I cared about and their last review date was this long ago, that would be a problem for me. I would want, like, I need more reviews. So you can use this to kind of filter through this and understand where you are. One of the things that we're going to be adding is like conditional filters for this page. We're going to keep on building onto this because I think there's a tremendous amount of potential value here for this. So like show me the sites that have like conditional filters. This is what I mean. Show me the sites that haven't had a review in the last 1 month, right? So then it will be able to understand and just show you those, or show me the ones that have less than 5 reviews. Being able to put filters in there like that is what is coming for this. So I have my developer actively working on this. We're going to turn this into a full-blown GMB audit system right here, and some other pieces that are going into it. So Ariel, I know that maybe I over answered your question, but I think there was so much I've been thinking about on that topic. Did you have any follow-up questions on that, or does that cover it? And oh, I see you said thanks like probably 20 minutes ago. All right, cool. All right.
Hey, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
I don't know if I could unmute or if I'm supposed to do in the chat. I'm just driving. So that answered my question, and that's amazing. What about for a new GMB that obviously don't have a client yet for it, and it's not a real business? Like, is there a way to generate reviews for that? And what do you recommend? Yeah, so I'm going to answer this like okay. So first of all, I've heard that it's illegal. I'm not an attorney, but I've heard that it's illegal to buy reviews, and I also think it's illegal to have somebody that lives in a city that maybe to leave those reviews. But I've heard that people have had success with both of those strategies. So there are people, I think, that do this, and you have to be careful with that. I think that's, it's always better if there's a real person that like a human being, rather than like some like fictional account that's been created. So that could be a strategy.
Ariel, do you have a client already?
For this particular account, I don't. It's my first rank and rent. So I have the
Okay.
GMB set up and everything like that, and it just has no reviews yet. So I wasn't sure how to just get the ball rolling with the review part of it to
Right.
start achieving some better results.
Yeah. So you like those could be, I mean, I've heard those are strategies that have worked well. For those of you guys that have clients, you know, I've also heard people are getting like GMBs and stuff on Craigslist and like potentially paying for these types of local services. So that could be something that you might want to explore. For those of you guys that have clients, and I know that Ariel, for you, for your first rank and rent, this part of it doesn't apply to you per se, but for any of you guys that have existing clients, this seems like a no-brainer to do. So you can download this template. Am I still sharing? Yeah. All right. You can download this template here, and then it's a spreadsheet with like the fields that are necessary. And then you can upload that in here. So then you can import that spreadsheet into our system. Within that spreadsheet download, there's a column that says tags. And you could say like, maybe you want to put like the date in there or something like that. That can help you identify it once it gets inside of our system. Once you have it inside of our system, then you can filter by tags, right? So I could go through and I could filter and say, only show me the ones from this import. And then what I could do is I could click on all these and I could say bulk action, add to automation, apply, and I can add all of these. So imagine I just imported, like my clients have been in business for 15 years. I'm just getting started with them. And I want to leverage a bunch of their like past contacts, right? So I can import all these contacts into the system. These are all people that they're telling me that they've completed the work. So these are like 100% good to go people, right? So I imagine this company has 4 reviews and I've just imported 1,000 people into the system. So it's not going to look very organic to Google if I just blast all those out at the same time, right? So instead, what I can start all now, and maybe that makes sense if, you know, the situation's right, if they got a lot of reviews already, or maybe there's not a lot of contacts getting imported, but maybe I want to add them over time. So instead of sending 1,000 out this week, I will send out, maybe I'll send out, you know, 50 a week. So that's going to go on for 20 weeks. It's going to kind of like drip those contacts into it over time, which might make it look more organic. But again, like I would say like a 20 to 25% conversion rate on a review request is pretty good. You're not going to get, you send out 1,000, you're not going to get 1,000 reviews. I can promise you that. And if you do that, I would love to talk to you and buy you a drink and understand how you did that, because that's just not how it's going to play out for most people, right? So look, this reputation management is super powerful for this. It's great for our rank and rent sites. And I know that a lot of you guys have been anxiously waiting on our white label service. We're very close on that. And once we have that, I think this is a very viable business model for people. So essentially what you can do, you can brand everything to yourself. There'll be no record of LeadSnap whatsoever. You can have your own pointed at your own domain or subdomain. So if it's like patricksagency.com, it could be like reviews.patricksagency.com, or it could be reviews.com, whatever you want. You can set it up that way, 100% branding, and then you could be selling this. So if you look at our prices and what the prices are for people that are paying for reputation management, I think you could easily justify $250 a month for reputation management service. And that is, if you spent $299 a month, I think that would include 100 companies. I think for 97, you could get 10. So that is a massive markup, right? And I think that is a great business model because it's low risk. And you could even promise people like, hey, if you give me 100 numbers or like 100 contacts, I'll get your reviews. And, you know, you can play around with this and get comfortable with it. And say like, I'll give you reviews and, you know, this, like you're guaranteed, like don't pay anything, it's trial, you know, that type of thing. This is some of the strategies that the person I was talking to last night was working with. You can niche down within this. And like, if you're creating reviews for a company and they're paying you and you're kind of leveraging the software to do it, it's a pretty passive business model. And how does that position you for moving them into other services? Like you've got their ear now that you trust them, you're getting Like, this is a great way to get your foot in the door and sell them a rank and rent site. Hey, I've got leads coming in your area. I've got this like, whatever, I've got this landscaping lead that that I don't know what to do with. Do you want this thing? It's like, hey, this person's looking to have 3 trees pulled out. Here's their address. Here's their information. Like, how easy it is to move somebody that you already know, that you already have a relationship, that you already trust, over to this, just like Patrick said, where it started out at 500, now it's at $4,800 a month, right? It's a lot easier to go from like 500 to 4,800 than it is from 0 to 500. And when you start them out, you can kind of like build that relationship, and you can rely on the system to support it. So I think, as we push out the white label service, I'm going to build out like a whole training on how to build this business model with reputation management. And, we're going to be pushing it on our own and testing it and playing with it and kind of getting prospecting methods for you guys, so we can have this like business in a box strategy with this reputation management stuff. So Ariel, that was why I was saying that was like a fortuitous question, because that's obviously where a lot of my attention has been recently. So cool. Hopefully you guys like that and have some excitement, because I think it is a super cool strategy. Okay, cool. Any questions around that?
Yeah, I do. So I got like a contact list of 1,000. So I'm trying to do automations with that. I'm just trying to figure out how to word that with I have like 6 different GMBs for this client. They're all kind of like different names. I'm just trying to figure out how to word that, since it doesn't have his branding on it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so they're familiar with this like branding where they did the work, right? And then yours has a different logo and a different name. It's like a different GMB, right? Did your client give you the 1,000 people to get reviews for your stuff, or were they thinking that was going to be for theirs?
Yeah, he's to get, because I'm the one getting all the leads using getting Jackson.
Okay, so that's kind of like a deal that we made there, right?
Yeah.
Got it. I think that you can, I mean, it's probably going to hurt your conversion rate a little bit, but you can, when you send out the text message or the email, you can have it be like, hey, this is this client with this company name. And, it can redirect the way, if you do it right, then the window, like if you choose the right link, then it's going to go to the GMB and it's going to instantly pop up the review window on top of the GMB, and you almost can't even see it, right? And it just has the stars and their name, right? And the funnel that we have can have your client's logo on it, right?
Yep.
So it can be pretty like seamless, right? So does this making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I was like, okay, we could say like on one of our new Google listings or something like that as well.
Right. Let's do a little quick test on this, right? So I've got this GMB locations and I have this review link here, right? So if I click on this, we'll see how it pops up like that. It says the name right here, but it's on some level, it's kind of like you have to be looking at that, and like you have to make that discernment in probably like less than 2 seconds. And now they're already into the review area. This stuff is a lot more prominent, right? So like if you choose the right link, if you copy that link, if it's in there, or if you log into the GMB, there's an area where you can copy it. If it's not in our, like authenticated into our system, then you can log into the GMB and you can get that link. So I don't think that there's a ton of exposure to the difference between the brands, right?
Okay. And then like, so when you're getting calls and form submissions from your GMBs, would you just like, if you just have a Gmail for that, would you just send the review requests from the Gmail, or would you send it from the company's like branded email?
Yeah, I would try to, if possible, I would try to send it from the company's branded email, because I think that's going to increase your conversion rate. It's probably going to increase the deliverability of the email. And like, if they've already had like a back and forth, maybe a proposal was sent through the email, and then a new email comes in, they're already on like the allow list, right? So you guys got to think, no matter what you do here, not all your emails are going to be delivered. The text messages will be delivered, right? That will happen. But the emails, and I mean, I guess they could block the text too, but the emails, there's like this whole deliverability thing there, and you want to maximize that by using an email address that they've communicated in the past with, if possible. If not, the Gmail, like use that as a backup. You got like ideal, and then like, okay, if not, use this one, you know. Some of these clients are probably not going to want to like give you their email stuff, or, you know, you could set them up as a user and say, hey, go in and add your email into this thing so that we can distribute this. And I would explain to them that. And if you guys are pitching reputation management, there's 3 big things that you should focus on for this with them. Is like, one, it's going to, like, you're getting all the leads that come in. So improve, like, and this will improve our ranking, which is going to improve the leads that come in for you. It's going to help us. And like that antenna model where it's like, hey, wherever we have an antenna, wherever we stick our location, it's an antenna. And as it gets taller, we cover more area, and more reviews makes it taller. That's a really easy thing for them to understand. The second thing is like, it's going to make it easier for them to close deals. If they've got 150 reviews and Joe Schmo over here has 3, like, I feel more trustworthy of this 150 person right away. And 3, they can charge more. If they've got more reviews, it's no longer apples to apples. If there's someone with 150 reviews and they're great, and then it's like all these people over a long period of time talking about how they've done a good job, and then I look at this guy and I'm like, I don't know if I can trust this dude. He's only got 3 reviews. Like, I will be willing to pay more for something that I have a higher level of trust, higher quality, right? Especially if you guys are choosing the right niches, and you're choosing niches where the average ticket cost is high, then like the people that are spending the money for something that is average, a lot of them, their mindset shifts a little bit. They're not necessarily like trying to get the bargain. They're trying to get someone that's going to perform this service in their house, and it's going to look amazing, right? If you're getting like, you're spending a lot of money on like having like landscaping done in your backyard, and you're putting in trees and all this other stuff, then it's like, I want to find someone who's really good that I can count on, that's like licensed, and I don't want like just some random dude that I don't know and I can't trust, and he's got no website, or he's got 2 reviews. So like all 3 of those things are reasons why your clients, and this is how I would pitch them this service. And you guys, if they're doing it for your Google My Business, then like maybe you can't charge for, if you own it, maybe you can't charge for that service because they're kind of like helping you, and like they're helping your property, and you're going to make it with the increased leads that come in. You're going to be able to charge them more. But if you're trying to sell them reputation management service for them, then like, well, these things, they're true either way, right? But this is where you can start to charge them. You know, I would start at $250 a month. That and you know, I've been to I was at a conference, and I've run into a lot of people who are making $10,000 a month plus, and all they do is sell reputation management, right? So it's a really viable business model for sure. Okay, cool. Do we have any other questions? You good?
From the chat. Anybody? Anyone? Chuck, I'm interested to hear what your success rate is on your conversions on your garage door.
They aren't great. But I know the guy doesn't ask for them. I was like, hey, you need to ask for him. I give him a link, and he's just like, he doesn't feel comfortable. So I just set up an automation, 4 days. If it qualifies as a call, they send out a text. And I've had that up for about 45 days. And I think we've gotten 4 reviews from it. So
okay.
That's not bad. I mean,
Yeah, not bad.
yeah.
The same thing with the towing guy. Any qualified call after 3 hours, it goes out, and I put in there, hey, my towing site, and then the company name that I work with, because they wanted that. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I've gotten reviews for that. They even, a couple of the one review, he even put the company that I work with in the review. And I was just like, hey, thanks for working with our team.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
So
care. It's a
Chuck,
review.
maybe that was you. That was like earlier in the call. I was like, someone told me this. Was that you? I know we did a call like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we did a call, and you actually helped me set it up. So it's just easy. You set it and forget it. It's Ron Popeil.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's one of the things that people struggle with this business model is like our contractors don't always understand the value of the reviews, and it's become more valuable. Like in my opinion, Google has like moved the dial towards reviews matter more. And you know, we've also had the situation where like we're ranking really well, but we have no reviews and we barely get any calls. So like the click-through rate and the conversion rate, even if you're ranking well, if you don't have reviews, you're still going to hurt. So you like the reviews matter not only for ranking, but also through that, like getting people to call when they see it. Like, and I do the same thing every day when I'm like searching for something. I'm like, their reviews suck. They don't have any. I'll go to the second page sometimes to try to find someone. Okay, this person looks legit. I'm going to call them. Right. So people are doing the same thing to you guys. It's not always who's first, but the good news is having more reviews will increase the likelihood that you'll rank first. And also, like, just because you rank first for your favorite term that you found, like there's hundreds of other terms that are out there, and you also want to rank for those. So getting the reviews can help you rank for all these other terms that maybe you haven't even thought of, and those are going to produce leads, right? So ranking is not like it's not a on or off, black and white situation. There's all this gray area of like, where are you ranking well, and what term, and like, you know, all these different things matter. And those reviews, even if you think you're ranking really well, they're still going to contribute to other terms. That's kind of my point, man. So this idea of just like pushing it out, you know, this was kind of like stimulated by the conversation I had yesterday, and I'm just gonna like, I was talking to Jeff. I called Jeff today, and I was talking to him this afternoon, and I'm like, let's just push out reviews for like, let's set some qualifications and let's send it out to all these people, because we have, I don't know, 1,000 Google My Businesses. It's hard to like, okay, where's the review? So if we have this thing sending it out for all these different sites, it's going to make a huge difference for us. And I think it's going to create a ton of income for us over time by improving our rank. Having an automated review collection system when reviews matter so much, it's huge. So I encourage you guys to take advantage of that. All right. All right, cool. So if you guys don't have any more questions, I would love to, two things. I'll leave you with two things. Calls are free, but the payment that we would love you guys to make to us is to share some feedback on the call. So for whatever reason, we are terrible at streaming and it is unpredictable. I'm going to post it in the Facebook group. You guys got something out of this, we'd love to hear it. We'd love to kind of keep on honing our craft so that we can improve the content that we deliver. So let us know. And then if you guys know anyone that you think would benefit from this, tag them on the group. And third, and perhaps most important, you guys got 7 days. We talked about like, can you look at yourself? We talked about this earlier. At the end of the day, can you look at yourself and know that you either enjoyed yourself or you've moved yourself forward to be in a better position for tomorrow. So you've got 7 opportunities over the next week to move things forward in your business, improve things for yourself. So take some action and make that stuff happen. You guys have an awesome week, and I'll see you guys in the group. Thanks, everybody. All right, bye.